Are any of the X-ray attacks in Mortal Kombat X actually survivable, or will all of them send you straight to the morgue?
A satellite watching from the sky, a beam of light. I am Electric Eye.
So it's begun. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very bright edition of the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and as you can imagine, today I'll be talking a little bit about E3. Now, today there wasn't really too much in the way of actual E3 news, but since I said I would be covering E3 related stuff every single day that I could, I decided, you know what? I think we'll start with an opinion piece, because what good journalist these days doesn't have opinions, am I right? By the way, I'm not an actual licensed journalist, so if you are actually taking any of this as actual truth, please know that this is just an opinion piece and that I'm not an actual journalist, and please don't hurt me! Anywho, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about my 5 personal most anticipated announcements at E3. Now, I'm going to have to stretch it a little bit because because some of these don't actually really count as, like, we know are going to happen, but it's rumored to hell and back. So, anything that I think has at least a 50% chance of showing up at E3, I will definitely do. So, like, I won't be talking about Prototype 3, because as fucking awesome as that would be, if they fix Alex Mercer's character in it. Other than that, really, honestly, there's like a 0% chance that we'll see Prototype 3. Maybe I'll do like a top 5 like wishful announcements at E3, you know what I mean? So just like the 5 things that if they were announced at E3, I would lose my shit. But going back into it, we're going to talk about a few announcements that are definitely going to happen, and a couple that might not happen but have a pretty decent chance of. Quick honorable mention, by the way, Jurassic World Evolution is going to have a special little show at just before E3, where they're going to be streaming and playing the game and answering questions and giving away things and stuff and words. There's a slight issue I have, personally, with covering anything Jurassic World Evolution this close to E3, because Jurassic World Evolution comes out on June 12th, right in the heat of E3. So, excuse me. So it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to cover a game that is basically out in less than a week, right? So I had to leave it off, but just know Jurassic World Evolution, I don't hate you, far from it. It's just that it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to cover it. It would be like, if Injustice 2, let's use Injustice 2. Let's say Injustice 2 was coming out June 14th, right at the end of E3. And, I said, my most anticipated thing is whatever they're going to do with Injustice 2. The game's already almost out. So, without further ado, let's jump right in to number 5. Starting off with number 5, we have Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, which I believe is out just titled Marvel Spider-Man. But we know that Marvel Spider-Man is one of the big 5 announcements coming at E3 for the Sony conference. I neglected to look up the Samurai game, but since we don't have a whole lot of details on that, it did not make the list, although it probably would have made a top 10 list, you know what I mean? As well as Spider-Man and, shit, I forgot the other 2. I am so bad at this, I apologize. But, as you can imagine, Spider-Man is my most anticipated of those games, because holy crap, does it look fantastic. First off, it's made by Insomniac, one of my favorite developers of all time ever, because of their longest-running, Ratchet & Clank franchise. The Ratchet & Clank franchise has been amazing. It's transcended 2 console generations, and it's kicked some serious ass in the process. Now, Insomniac also are apparently big Spider-Man fans, because supposedly when Marvel approached them and said, pick a Marvel character, any Marvel character that you want to make a game for, they said, Spider-Man. Easy. Just like that. And, I mean, while I do tend to lean a little more towards DC, just because DC tends to have the better games, in my opinion. there has been a lot of good Marvel games that I played outside of some of the mobile things that they have, and even then, you know, it's mobile. But I do actually have a really cool thing here. I'm gonna obscure the face of my friend here for privacy reasons, but that's Stan Lee. I got a picture with motherfucking Stan Lee, which is amazing because he was so cool to meet, and you know, I'm turning into a fanboy here. I'm sorry, but I met him. It was a grand old time, and it really kind of rekindled my interest in Marvel, especially because like 2 of my 5 favorite heroes are Marvel: Spider-Man and Hulk, in reverse order, because Hulk is my more favorite than Spidey, but Spidey I'll take for sure. And the fact that they're doing they're making a big deal out of Spider-Man at E3 for Sony, so I'm really excited to see what Insomniac kind of reveals. They might reveal a new costume or 2, maybe they'll show off one of the first missions in the game. I would also, personal wish list, I would love if they showed off the Lizard. That would be like, holy shit, that would be amazing. But you know how these things tend to go, you never really know. So, barring a Lizard announcement that will lose my damn mind, Spider-Man is right now at number 5. But that's totally okay. We're going to move on to number 4. At number 4, we have a game that is rumored to be in the works and might be announced relatively soon at E3. But it's not a guarantee, and I wouldn't really hold my breath on this, but if it does get announced, it would be exciting. And I'm talking Superman by Rocksteady. Now, there's a bunch of rumors floating around the likes of 4chan and all of these other places that have kind of cropped up and have been kind of consistent talking about a Superman Rocksteady game, which Rocksteady would be awesome to develop any superhero game, because look at what they did with Batman. As a matter of fact, Batman Arkham City at one point was in the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest rated superhero game of all time. Still my favorite Arkham game as well. Arkham Knight's like a pretty close second. But seriously, honest to God, a Superman game by these guys could be top class. And that would be exactly what Superman needs. Superman dominates anything that he really gets his hands on. Everybody remembers the Christopher Reeve movies back in the 70s, and even the admittedly okay Man of Steel. Everybody knows him in the comics. The dude was one of the first superheroes, for God's sakes. The one thing that Superman has never really been able to get off the ground in, which seems kind of ironic, is video games. Superman does not have anything above a mediocre superhero game that he stars in. What I mean by that is that you're probably immediately thinking, well, what about Injustice? You're a big Injustice fan. Well, Injustice in Injustice, Batman and Superman are co-stars. Superman doesn't run the show. Batman doesn't run the show. However, Batman runs the show in his own really great game series, which is the Arkhamverse. And Superman, his best was a movie tie-in game, which really says something. When you realize that your best video game was a movie tie-in to Superman Returns, oh dear. What are you gonna do, right? Well, apparently, Rocksteady may be up to the challenge and may announce it at E3. Don't get your hopes up, but I would be really excited to see an actual good Superman game. And also, personally, Rocksteady, if you're not making a Superman game and you are looking for heroes to do, can you please do Green Arrow and Black Canary, or just Black Canary, or just Green Arrow? Just one of those two, please. It would be nice to get, Arrow has his own TV show on the CW, which is nice, but especially with Black Canary, they never had a really big video game presence on their own. So please, make a damn Green Arrow game! But I'll take Superman, absolutely. So now it's time to move on to number 3! Why did I turn into a choir boy? I don't understand. At number 3 is another not officially announced yet title, but I hold a lot more stock in this one being announced than I hold stock in the Superman game being announced, which, Superman already has quite a few rumors out, but this one has a whole scheduling history behind it. And that would be a Mortal Kombat game of some kind, because there's two leading theories on what kind of Mortal Kombat game it's going to be. I personally hold a lot of stock in it being Mortal Kombat 11, the sequel to MKX, which was still one of my favorite fighting games of all time. And in fact, I'm just getting back into playing MKX just on a whim, as you could see, and I'm having a blast. Oh god, I've missed playing as the Predator. You have no idea. But seriously, I'm pretty sure it's going to be MK11 just because it kind of makes sense. But there has been some rumors going around that it could be a Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks 2. Or a remaster of that or something. And I'm just sitting here going, really? I never played Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. It's one of the few MK games I never actually played. It's that, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Mortal Kombat Special Forces, and Mortal Kombat 4. Which I'm not playing that until I get Mortal Kombat Gold. And I think that would require me to have a Nintendo 64, which I don't have. I have a huge aesthetic for black consoles. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mortal Kombat 11, possibly with an attached Mortal Kombat 9 remastered. That's just my personal, want, because Mortal Kombat 9 was top. I mean, it was competitively stupid, broken, and busted, and the online back in the day was so garbage. I was playing one of my neighbors, right? I was playing one of my neighbors in an online match at MK9, and we had, I shit you not, a 12 frame delay. It was stupid. But there is also the chance of it being Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks 2, which would be interesting because the last time they did a Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks type game was way back in the era of the PS2. And what could this possibly mean for the game? Well, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, the original one, was a sort of tie-in to Mortal Kombat 2 with some questionably canon moments in it that were used mainly as expansion. It's kind of like Mortal Kombat 2 if there's a bit of a what-if side to it. Now, if there is a Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks 2, I could totally see it being Liu Kang or Kung Lao's quest to free the Dark Emperor Liu Kang from corruption during the MKX timeline, and it would take place between MKX and MK11. But I honestly just hold more stock in it being Mortal Kombat 11, but we'll see. Some sort of Mortal Kombat announcement is almost certainly going to happen at E3, and that's personally got me pretty excited. So let's move on to number 2. Number two. I really should probably turn this off. It is horrific. Number 2, I finally managed to get the name of because I decided, fuck it, this is too much. I need to go look it up. It's Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. And the reason why it's so high on the list is because there isn't a lot that we know about it. It's literally just, it's a game made by Sucker Punch about samurai in Japan, and basically that's it. Now, I also managed to find the full list of the 4 core games that Sony and PlayStation are kind of mainly highlighting, because this is the first time they're kind of doing this. They're doing a big, here are the big 4 games coming to PS4 soon that you should check out. And they're Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, which makes all of the sense in the world because everybody likes Kojima, and holy shit, that doesn't look weird. And The Last of Us Part 2. Honestly, I don't really give a shit about The Last of Us, but that's just me. But the Ghost of Tsushima thing is so high because we know next to nothing about it. We literally only know of the one trailer and maybe a little bit of information here or there, but that's it. There's a reason why it beat out the Mortal Kombat announcement, which is kind of crazy when you think about it like that. But the reason why it beats that out is because of all the mystery behind it. What is it going to be like? How are you going to play it? How are these Infamous devs, how are the developers of Sly Cooper and Infamous going to reinvent themselves this time? Because I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but aside from some of the basic skeleton work of how you climb and stuff, Infamous and Sly Cooper are about as different IPs as you can get from one single company. One, you play as a thieving raccoon who goes around the world stealing shit, and in the other, you're a superhero with an extreme moral dilemma. Actually, technically you're 2 because of Infamous Second Son switching over to Delson, but that's besides the point. The point is, what are they going to do differently with this particular IP? Now, Sucker Punch always likes to, well, from what I've seen so far, Sucker Punch tends to like to really go hard into a different sort of element while keeping some sort of skeleton of the last. So that personally leads me to believe that this game is going to be vastly different from anything that Sucker Punch has ever done, while keeping some of the movement options of, say, Infamous, or maybe even get some powers that are Infamous-esque, like maybe you shoot lightning out of your hands, or you get smoke bombs, or anything like that. But that's number 2, Ghost of Tsushima. The only reason why I haven't talked more about it is A, I keep forgetting the damn name, and B, because there's been so little information, I actually forgot about it. But, that being said, let's go into number 1. The most anticipated game that's going to be shown off at E3 2018. And you guys are probably not going to be surprised if you actually know me in person, but if you don't and are curious, stick around. We're about to heat things up. And finally, my number 1 most anticipated E3 announcement showcase thing for E3 2018 is Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. Oh yes, if you knew me, this was coming, because Spyro 1 was the very first video game I ever actually played. When I was just a wee little lad, I got Spyro the Dragon because my brother had Crash Bandicoot, and I watched it, and I don't know, I guess I somehow never saw the appeal. But since then, I played Spyro, it was a blast, and then when I was little, I took my brother's Crash Bandicoot Warped copy, and I deleted his save. I was an asshole as a kid. But now that I'm hopefully less of an asshole, Spyro has always been my personal favorite. And when Crash got remastered back in 2017, I thought, that's cool. I kind of like Crash. Wait, does that mean Spyro's coming back? Straight up, that was the big major thing that made me go, ah! And then when it got announced a couple of months ago, oh, did I ever lose my damn mind? I did a reaction video. I don't do those very often, but I did a reaction video on my channel all about the reaction that I had when I saw the trailer. And one of my buddies from Scotland actually sent me a link that leaked when the trailer was going to be announced. And it was right on time! Granted, it might have been a couple of minutes late, but that's okay, because, you know, publishing times can be a bitch on YouTube. So it was well within the time. So that guy's leak was legit. Okay, I'm getting a little too testy. See with Spyro Reignited, we're probably going to be seeing it at E3. We'll be seeing some gameplay, probably of the first level of all 3 games, just to see how it plays and how everybody's liking it. Maybe some changes that we would have seen since, and a new trailer. We're not gonna see ultimately too much in comparison to some of the other games at E3, but sweet baby Jesus, Spyro is my most anticipated game out of E3. All of these games are hopefully gonna be fantastic and have me personally pretty excited. But the real question is, are they gonna be? It's gonna be hard to say because sometimes something gets announced and looks really cool at E3, but ends up looking completely meh afterwards. Watch Dogs. So, with that being said, what is your most anticipated game out of E3? You could have a top 3, a top 5, a top 10, what the fuck ever. Just as long as it's a highly anticipated title of yours, not mine, of yours, and maybe even some announcements if you have a little bit of evidence to back it up. And then tomorrow we'll be doing my top 5 wish list for E3. You know, the games that, even if there's like a negative 12% chance of it being announced, I would love, if this, I want this to be a thing just because I love that game franchise so much. Looking at you, Prototype. Wink! So, that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, DFTBA, and stay tuned for more E3 coverage from here. Cheers.